the Bridge Group of Companies head office. I'm so excited. I have a very special guest here, one of our platinum sponsors, Mr. Stuart Rudner from Rudner Law. Welcome, Stuart.
Thanks for having me, Natasha.
And once again, we're here at the Bridge Group of Companies headquarters, and we're going to be talking about, protecting you as an employee or an employer. Why don't you tell us, Stuart, a little bit about your background and what you do before we get into how we can help protect small business owners. It's going to be a great and exciting topic today. So why don't you start off and letting us know what you do and how you can help us.
Sounds good. At Rudner Law, we specialize in employment law. That's all we do. And frankly, I think one of the things that attracted most of us to employment law is we get to work with real people on something that is critical to their lives. Because if you think about it, everybody, or almost everybody, is either an employer or an employee. And whether it's your business or your job, it's a fundamental part of your life. So we get to help people make sure they understand their rights, make sure they're protecting themselves, and they're not being taken advantage of. And I can tell you, when we work with our business clients, what we want is we want to have a long-term relationship as their trusted advisor. So we can help them get things set up, we can give them the advice they need to be strategic, reduce their labor costs, minimize their risks, but also maximize their rights as employers.
Interesting.
And, I'm sorry, I was good one for employees. So we do both sides, which a lot of people find surprising. But we like to work with both because, frankly, we're not ideologically married to either side. I think there is
So
good
you
and
help
bad.
employers and employees too as well.
Absolutely. There's
So
good and bad on both sides.
That's very, very good. So we help a lot of small business clients with mortgages, investments, and consulting and planning, but we don't help on the law side for protection, for employment law. And as an employer who has employees, you've also helped me out tremendously in educating me. So education is so important. In speaking to your clients, whether they're in the employer sector portion or an employee, as an employee, what are some of the key fundamental things you would recommend for an employee and an employer to practice to protect themselves?
From the employer perspective, the single most important thing, be proactive. Our employment laws are designed primarily to protect employees, but there is a lot that you can do as an employer, and we've talked about a little bit about this offline. A lot that you can do by having strong contracts, policies, and procedures, and there's lots of things we can do, but the most striking example, a really good termination clause, can be the difference between having to give somebody 8 weeks of termination pay and more than 2 years of termination pay. So we can help our clients put themselves in a much stronger legal position.
And that's a lot of money we're talking about for a small business owner.
Especially for a small business. It's a huge amount of money. That can almost handcuff you. If someone says that you're going to pay 2 years of severance, then what are you going to do? Whereas if you had a good contract up front, you're in a much better position. Interesting,
and that's very, very good. And if you are a business owner, they're small, medium, or even large, that's a very, very good takeaway point to protect, especially for cash flow. Like you said, that could be a deal breaker for a small business owner. What would you say about an employee when they're being presented with a contract? What are some key things that you would suggest for an employee to look at and make sure that, when they sign that dotted line, they're protected and they're working with an employer that shares their same value and protects their rights too as well?
You asked me exactly the question I wanted to answer, which is the flip.
Maybe I should get into law.
It's never too late. It's exactly the flip side of what I just said. If you're being presented with a contract, it's critical that you have it reviewed before you sign. It's so frustrating for us when we have someone come in, usually when they get a severance package, and they are dismayed by how small the package is. They can't understand why that's the case. And we look at the contract they signed maybe months or years ago, and we say, here's why. You basically signed away most of your rights, and now you're stuck with this pittance of a package. It's critical to get advice before you sign anything.
Excellent. That's very, especially if it's a long-term commitment and there's a lot of terms and conditions in that contract, maybe some allowances and so forth, or above and beyond special conditions. I think it's even more so important to have a special person like you that is experienced in employment law to protect us, right?
Yeah, we help people at every stage of the relationship. So the hiring stage is critical, the termination stage is critical, but also along the way, sometimes issues arise with respect to harassment or constructive dismissal, or you just think something doesn't feel right. And that, as I've often said lately, if you think you might need an employment lawyer, you probably do, because we help people at every stage. And what strikes us over and over again is there's so much information out there, but there's so much confusion that in most cases people really don't understand their rights.
Yeah, tell me about it. You taught me something interesting about I think it was overtime we were talking about,
Right.
of work managers versus a regular employee. So there's so many rules and evolving Employment Act changes, and that's very, very good to have a subject matter expert like yourself helping small business owners succeed, and that's very, very good. You know, I'm curious, before we close in our session, what is the most common inquiry or that you get from an employee to retain your services?
The most common is a severance package. They've been let go, they've been given a package, and they want to know if it's fair or not. But what frustrates us even more is the fact that so many other people never bother to call an employment lawyer, and they just assume the package is fair, or they go online and they do their own research and convince themselves that it was fair. And it never fails. I'll be at a social event, maybe this will happen at your picnic, and someone will come up to me and say, I lost my job 6 months ago, but I went online and I looked, and sure enough, they gave me everything I was entitled to. And then if they tell me the details, I realize they left a lot of money on the table because they didn't bother going to see an employment lawyer before they signed.
Interesting. And flip side, an employer would come to you, number one most common reason would be because...
Ideally, they come to us to be strategic and put their contracts and policies in place. Realistically, they usually come to us when there's a fire that has to be put out, like a wrongful dismissal claim or a human rights claim. So we help them get through that, and that's a great learning experience because then we can say, you could have avoided this by being proactive. So that's usually a great introduction.
Well, you know what, guys, everyone, Stuart's going to be at our picnic Saturday, June the 15th at Dr. McLean's Park. Come on out, whether you're an employee, you just got offered a position, or you just got let go, or you're an employer and you're building your business, or you need some advice, this is the person that you need to speak to. Come out and network. He's one of our platinum sponsors. You know, it was very, very nice having you today at our office. And I know you've taught me a lot in the past couple of months, and we're definitely going to be applying those changes that you have recommended. And let's continue to do this more often to educate our consumers and our clients out there, to keep them well informed, to make right decisions and save, if not hundreds, but thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me here, and I can't wait to see you and everybody else at the picnic in just over a week.
All right. Take care, everyone, and stay tuned.